All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our In the Spotlight series, where we shine a light on entrepreneurs, small, medium enterprises, SMEs, and innovators. I'm Maxine Crow, your host, and I am delighted to be joined by Jamie Levy, founder, CEO of Global Procurement Training. Hi, Jamie. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you, Maxine? It's a lovely, warm morning here in Los Angeles at the moment.
You're lucky you've got the sun. We've got a very dull spring evening in the UK. I'm really excited for you to be here today. Thank you so much for taking some time out with us today. So I'm just gonna jump in and ask you some questions, and I want to know all about global procurement training. But first of all, just please tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
So it's been a long career so far. I think I've been around for, I know I've been around for 20 plus years doing
Wow.
procurement supply chain work. So I've been around for quite a while. I kind of one of those people that came straight out of university, ended up going straight into procurement, which was interesting. I remember the day a friend of my father shook my hand and said, "Congratulations, you've got a job where nobody will ever say hello to you again," which was interesting 20 plus years ago, and I'm still doing the same job. So it's been a wonderful career. It's been all over the place. I've worked in public sector, private sector, CPO level, tactical level, delivery, training, you name it. I've probably done the role. And worked in a lot of consultancy and interim work in the latter part of my career. So I started out in the IT sector, working in what was ITL, which is now Fujitsu Services. Was there for about 3.5 years, and it was more tactical. And came the choice of moving into more tactical work or moving into more strategic work. So I moved into more strategic, into more category management work, and ended up going and working for a niche consultancy at the time. They were called QP Group. They still kind of exist today, not in the same way they did, but they were fairly leading in terms of where they were in terms of procurement. Huge amounts of work with pharmaceuticals and cable and wireless at the time, and a whole bunch of other companies. E-procurement was one of the parts of the business that I worked with as well, as that was sort of coming into the world, and then sort of left there after having done consultancy for quite a while and having worked in a lot of different places, and moved into a permanent job in direct materials. So completely different. Everything had been all over. So I spent 2.5 years in what was the supply chain function, looking after what was cartons, labels, leaflets, and booklets for a pharmaceutical company across the whole of what was Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So that was a regulated environment, heavily regulated, and very interesting place to be. And then kind of moved from there into KPMG, Atos. Big MOD program was the big piece that I did, and a lot of bid work and a lot of proposals. So getting used to those PowerPoint presentations at that point. And then took a little break. Went and traveled through Australia for a year and a half. And then came back and started back as a contractor. And I've been contracting ever since. So I've worked for multiple different companies, all different levels, and generally going in to try and fix problems that have existed or that now found. And that's probably the time I met yourself, was going in to fix problems that were there. And then, then kind of moving out once those problems are fixed and on to the next thing. And some of that was training, formally, latterly, and training and developing people and working with procurement people who wanted development in their careers. So it's kind of a very quick potted history of where I've been. CPO, I was a CPO of a FTSE 100 for a time, and that was an interesting experience as well. So I think I've been around quite a while in this procurement world and seen most of the patterns that we seem to go through as an industry.
Thank you, Jamie. Very, very colourful career that you've had so far. I mean, it's been a number of years since I've known you as well, so it's really great to reconnect. So tell us, why did you launch Global Procurement Training?
So one of the things, I guess, go back to my early career, and I think it's part of what we've all seen is there's a lot. When I started my first career in ICL, one of the reasons I left was very little training. Uh, and one of the discussions and one of the surveys that I've done recently is about training and what training people get, and finding that the big organizations will sometimes give you training,
Mhm.
but it seems to be that the amount of training that people get, number one, doesn't really happen once you're doing your day job. The day job seems to take over, and then when you're sort of trying to get your time out to the training, that really doesn't happen as much as you would expect it to happen. So
Mm,
that's number one. And number two, I found that, and part of the cycle of procurement seems to be we build the function, and then the function seems to dwindle over a kind of a 5 to 8 year cycle. As we deliver more and more value, eventually the value sort of dwindles. And if we're reporting to the CFO, he says, "Where's my numbers?" And that sort of starts to dwindle. So we start to ask the question as to what part of the job do we need to be doing, and
mm,
what part of the job do we really need the rest of the business to be doing. So I think there's a big market out there for training for people who are not procurement trained. They've not got 3 4 years worth of training. They're not MSIPS qualified. They've not got ISM, and they're just somebody who works in business but doesn't really know how to, what I define as, spend the company's money.
mm.
They're being told to do it, but they don't know how to do it. And there are spends, even when we get in the larger organizations, where we start to say, well, we can't really get involved in anything under 100K or 150K or 200K because it's just too small for us to get involved in. So
Mm.
they need that level of training. So I think there's two tiers. I think there's the expert training that we have as procurement people, but then there's the expert training that non-procurement people need to do parts of the job that we would like to support them on, but we just
Yeah.
can't because we don't have the time, or the organization's too small to actually afford to pay for full-time procurement people. So they just want people to do that job.
Mm,
And that is everything that we talk about, but is really needed to be done in a much quicker way and a much easier way.
mm. Thank you. And
So that's why I started it.
yeah. So tell us, what were your highlights when you were developing the courses?
Oh, wow. It's been a roller coaster. So it's 2 years of building a company so far.
Mm,
Uh, I've had started false start with the company with partners. It didn't work very well, so we separated.
mm.
I've had a number of people who've worked with me who've been fantastic people in developing some of the content. So, I've reached out to what I would see as some of the big experts in the areas. So some of the legal elements are actually written by lawyers with my twist on the procurement side.
Mm.
I'm working with other partners on some of the e-tenders pieces. So that's being built with them. So that's still under construction
Yeah.
and will always be under construction. And I think that's the big thing for me with the training course. And what's been interesting and seeing is that what we're not doing is building a fixed course.
Mm.
So we have a feedback loop within this course so that as soon as you feed back to us, we actually alter the materials. And the idea is that's huge, because what I've seen out there is people who build these courses and within a year they're defunct and they don't make sense and people's opinions aren't listened to. So the idea is that we have an absolute feedback loop where we will implement the elements that people give us in terms of feedback. And we're already doing that today. So
Yeah.
we had one client, a very small business, a construction company, and we worked with them, and everything that we did with them went straight back into the training. So it's building up and building up a repository of that training.
Yeah.
But the training is also linked to what I see as the other two key components. One is a mentor, because I think people now need more mentors than we have. We've got a lot of
Yeah.
people who are coming out of the industry now, who are retiring, who don't want to do full-time jobs. And they're happy to help younger people and help people who are coming through to train those people. So that's put alongside the training materials that we have.
Mm.
So that's a fantastic part of of the whole piece that we're pulling together. But the training is online. It's a software-based training. But we're also starting and we'll be launching in the next few weeks a virtual course as well. So that'll be 4 one-hour trainings that we're going to be doing for people. And that is, again, to try and help people who just don't have the amount of time that we're used to spending 2 days going on a training course or 3 days going on a training course. They don't have that level of time. So it's trying to give those people the time they need for the focus that they need, but also understanding that pressure is quite strong right now in terms of procurement and what's going on in the market. So I think, you know, people need that effort and people need that time to be able to do stuff. And I think we're responding to that as needed. So, you know, we've had a fair few people feeding back to us, asking us for that. So we've built that.
Yeah, you're fading in and out a little bit. So I think you're probably going to have to keep your head still.
Okay.
Okay, that's better. Thank you. And also it's quite interesting because bite size, now that we're responding to, you know, we have we're in a fast-paced industry. So having bite-sized learning and chunking learning and micro lessons, it tends to be the norm these days, so that people can learn on the go, if you like, I would say.
Yeah, and there's absolutely a place for that. There's absolutely the right place for that. I think there's a place for what we have as residential courses as well. And those residential courses will be the same thing. They'll have, you know, they will be a 2-day, 3-day course that you're in a classroom. We've run 2 already, and they've been really interesting to see people's responses. Especially one evening, we had a challenge in the evening over the night, and that was an interesting one to see people's responses to find the most valuable item they could find. We put people in teams of 4, and they had the evening to go and find the most valuable item they could find.
What was the outcome?
Was really interesting because they actually voted the results themselves. We didn't actually give them the results, so they voted it. And one person turned up with a wedding ring, which was supposedly the most valuable item. But then one person who obviously beat everyone else turned up with his son.
Oh, wow.
And he really got the team, they really got the understanding of value as opposed to price. And it was quite interesting that people started to, you know, as we had them grading themselves and judging themselves. So the teams all judged each other, and they actually came to the conclusion that that was the most valuable item. And it was great learnings for the team that price isn't always what it's about. There's other things that are introduced into as part of that overall value. And that was just fantastic learning and watching as people sort of got that into their heads. And it comes, but it takes time. It isn't something that you get from day one.
It does. It's true. Okay, so we're gonna. I want to probe you now about sort of the future industry trends. So, what do you feel are the future trends in the industry, and how do you think we can all prepare for change?
So, I think everyone's talking about AI being the big thing now. I think we've been down the roller coaster of ESG for a little while. Probably the last 5 years we've been down the roller coaster of ESG. I've heard a number of people saying, "Is ESG here to stay? Is it going to go? Is it part of, you know, what's normal for us now? Is it, you know, once we get back to price, people will start to be hitting us over the head again with that stick to deliver price." So that's an argument that will never stay. I think we've gone round the loop. I think there's a pattern we go round as an industry, and ESG is probably that pattern again with risk and the other elements. We probably go around that cycle every sort of 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
We go around that cycle. Will it stay this time? Will it stick? I'm hearing both sides. I'm hearing, yes, it's stuck and we're going to be delivering a lot of stuff, a lot of things in it. I'm also hearing, no, it's been great dealing with ESG and it's been fantastic, but now people are knocking on the door saying, "Where's the money? Where's the money?" So I don't know. ESG, AI. There's a lot of companies starting to appear now in the AI space in terms of procurement. So I think a lot of the repetitive tasks that we've been doing for a long time, some of those will start to disappear. they will, you know, some of the tenders that we're doing, where we do regular tenders that can't constantly happen, they'll disappear. That the AI will take over some of that. Will some of the negotiation be taken over by AI? Again, I don't know. That's another conversation that people are talking about. Can you negotiate using AI as opposed to anything else, as opposed to doing humans? I don't know. That'll be all about how can AI read human beings the same as we have to read when we're actually in a negotiation. So that'll be an interesting question. I do see it growing. I do seeing it moving forwards. I think it's going to be part of what we do day to day. But I also see that there is more of a demand. What was told to me early in my career was that I didn't have gravitas. And I used to think, what is gravitas? And I couldn't get anyone to define it. And that was the more soft skills that we need. It's the communication and the convincing and those skills that we need now as procurement people, and actually being trained in those skills. And I think that's becoming more demanding now.
Yeah,
I'm definitely seeing a lot of people asking for that. So that leads into your kind of NLP and areas such as that. That develop themselves, CBT, you know, understanding people, how to convince, how to negotiate, how to argue, those kind of things, how to deal with conflict. You know, we deal with that every day, day in, day out. But again, those skills and teaching people those skills is becoming more of a demand on the procurement person. It isn't just hand over the spend and off we go. It becomes more of a, how do I work with you to deliver the results that you want? And also being honest with them and saying, you know, it's not always going to be what you want. Some of it will be what's actually coming out as a result. And you might not like the results, but hey ho, this is my job, is to tell you what it is, what supply chain is. I think there's been a huge shift, I'd say a massive shift away from this office-based working.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which I find intriguing, because most of my career has never been office-based working. And I was told many moons ago that you should be spending at least 60% of your time out of the office with your suppliers, because if you want, you don't understand how they work. I never did. In reality, the theory was that's what I should be doing. But you generally find you're multi-site. You've got different offices in different places. So you'd be traveling to those offices, or you're traveling to a customer, or you're traveling to a supplier, or you're traveling to an industry event so you can get more information. Again, if you want to bring yourself as a procurement person up that value chain, you know, more value to your customers, you need to understand your suppliers more. Once, when I was a director in the government, we had people who were working with us in my team who were dealing with IT hardware. So we had them work with Dell for a week every month, and they were taught by Dell the new technology and what was coming and how they would fix things and what would go on. So they would really get into the technical side of computers, because they were dealing with hardware. So what was intriguing, we had a head of a government department come in, and when they came in, they actually said to myself, they said, your people really know what they're talking about. They're not just talking about numbers. They understand the product.
Yes.
And he was really happy that we were working with him. So I think these are the trends. But what I think we've got to understand is that there are patterns that we go through. And we've got to understand that there are that these trends will come through. There's a curve, it was a long time ago developed by Gartner, called the Durlacher curve. It effectively says there's hype that comes out that everything will deliver, you know, AI will deliver everything. It's not going to deliver everything. It's going to deliver more than we get today, but it won't deliver everything we believe it's going to. And I think we have to ride that wave, and that's coming through. So I think that happens on all of these trends, all of these new things that come through. Is AI going to be the new internet? I don't know yet. I don't think anyone knows the answer to that. How much control will happen? Nobody knows. It's a changing beast right now, and it's sort of launched really in effect in the last kind of year. So I think it's an escalation of that. But in terms of preparing ourselves for it, we need to be trained. We need to learn. We need to understand. We need to know what's going on. You know, if there are big procurement teams, you may have training departments who understand this, who are actually looking at this, who are actually going out and trying to find the best training for the teams. If you're not in a huge procurement department, make sure you're trained. I mean, we're talking, there are many conversations I'm hearing a lot more now as the economy is getting harder and harder and there's less and less cash available. The best place to spend that money is on yourself, is on the team, is on the people, because the better they are, the better you are. Every time I've been a CPO or walked into any of those roles, it's always been the same question: how are the team doing? What's going on with the team? Because at the end of the day, we can deliver the results, but if we haven't got the people, they're not going to achieve anything. So it's about people, and we're always going to get back to it's about people, I think.
Thank you, Jamie. So tell us a little bit about, so who inspires you?
So at the moment, what's an interesting one? I would actually say there's two people that inspire me right now. One of them is a 6-year-old ball of fire called my daughter. And she is, it's interesting as not being a father and being father later in life, to understand how much they do inspire you in terms of what they do. They're so open to things. They don't discount things. It's our programming that takes them away from the things that they could be doing. And when they want to jump in, and it's holding them hands, jumping through that kind of the ball of fire, I call it. They're jumping into that ball of fire. They don't know what's on the other side, but they'll go there. But sometimes they want a little hand holding with that. So every day, I pick her up from school, and the stories you hear are just astronomical. They're amazing. The things you hear, the things that she's doing. She's 6 years old. She's 6 years old, and she's teaching a martial arts class at 6 years old.
Wow.
She's been doing it for 2 years, and I watch her do that and see how confident she is. And I think, if only I was like that at 6 years old, never mind, even 10 years old, it's amazing to see. So I think that's an inspiration every day. But secondly, one of the people that I do quite follow a lot is a gentleman called Tony Robbins, who is a self-help guru. And he's extremely inspiring in that, number one, he's come from nothing. He's not somebody that's come from a lot of family. That's what I do a lot of research in. One of the topics I'm really keen on is leadership. And I find a lot of people who we say have made a lot of money or got somewhere very, very well have come from some sort of background that's helped them out. He hasn't at all. He's just made that choice that he wanted to be there. And I think he's just gone through his life developing himself and developing things and tools. And yes, it is about what he's developed and a sale and a proposition and the such. But I think, after having worked with a lot of people, he genuinely wants to help people. And I think that's really inspiring to me, because I think one of the things I feel we've lost a lot of is that community spirit that we have and helping each other. And I think, I got on a call with a person yesterday, and it was just somebody who reached out to me and said, I'm trying to understand the supply chain for, it was pineapples in the US. And I said, do you understand what the supply chain is? And he said, no, not really. So I spent an hour on a phone call with him yesterday explaining to him how to understand what a supply chain is, how to break it down. I mean, within 45 minutes, we've broken down most of the pineapples for the US come from Costa Rica. It's owned by Del Monte, half of the Costa Rican. So as he saw that in 45 minutes, now somebody who has no idea what they're doing at all couldn't do that in 45 minutes. But because I've done it for 20 plus years, it's helping him to do that. And I think that's the bit that inspires me all the time, especially with somebody like Tony Robbins. It's trying to help people. And we don't always help. We don't always give the right answer. We try our best, and that's the way the world is. But helping people and giving back is probably the best way to inspire others as well. So hopefully, I do that. I pay it forward with my daughter, and she's party to that. It's, we get involved in charitable events on the basis of paying it forward. So again, trying to inspire other people to help others. So I think, you know, watching that and seeing that and being part of that and actively doing it, I think that's the point. It's great to be inspired by people, but if you don't take any of that learning and do something with it, it just doesn't work. So, you know, one of the things I learned in from a man like Tony Robbins is if I'm in a meeting and I'm thinking about actioning something, within 5 minutes of that meeting or during that meeting, I will have actioned at least 2 or 3 items.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to do it. It's just going to sit there and waste time. So it's inspirational to do things like that. And it's not always going to be right, but
You've got
that's
to, you've got to
the life we
start.
lead.
Yeah, you've got to,
Yeah,
you've got to
absolutely,
try.
100%.
You've got to try.
Yeah.
So Jamie, what can we look forward to from in the future from Global Procurement Training?
So 2 things, I guess. You know, the first one is obviously one of the things we wanted to do today, Maxine, to celebrate being brought by yourself and invited by yourself to the In the Spotlight is the discount that you can see below. So, you know, the code for you go to www.globalprocurementtraining.com, you type in the Spotlight, and you will get a 50% discount on everything for the next 14 days. So we've got that out there for your readers and for your viewers. So that's huge for us, because we wanted to say thank you for this time. And I know, Maxine, it takes a lot of your time to do this, so we want to do that. We will also be launching a virtual course. We haven't done it before. We've tried it. We didn't get much take up on it. Is the reality. So we've listened to the people that we talked to, and we've changed the course. So that is going to go live in the next week or so. So that will be 4 1-hour slots that will be teaching people how to do some of the basics of procurement. And actually, we're actually going to make that course, the virtual course, a more mobile course. So I call it mobile in that we will actually change the course as we're in the course. So the first thing we'll be asking is, what do you want to learn? And we'll actually be changing the course as we do that. So we also have experts in the backgrounds, in the wings, that will be bringing in to teach people certain things if they really want the experts. So if they want a specific knowledge on, let's say, construction, we'll bring in a construction expert for 30 minutes and they will talk you through all the expert elements of construction. So I think that's huge for us in terms of saying, we have a course, we say what the core contents are, but if it needs to change, we can adapt it. We will adapt it on the fly. So that's big for us. We'll also be doing more residential courses. We've done a couple of residential courses already. We put them on hold for a little while because we got feedback that right now people couldn't get time out of work. And we didn't run them because we got that feedback as we were talking to MDs and CEOs. So we put those on hold for a little bit. So we'll be relaunching those residential courses again. So that'll be 2-3 days that is great for people to attend. And they generally learn quite a lot, but it's very intense. It's hard work, and we have partners now that are working with us on those elements. So there'll be more announcements soon in terms of the partners that we're working with on different areas and different parts of procurement. And finally, I think it's going to become, we're actually going to start offering to the masses, which we haven't done yet. So we're going to start pushing the course through some other sites some partners that we've got on other sites. So the course will be heavily discounted again for people that want to join what we're calling the beta version. So it's kind of like we're leaving it in beta because we're saying that we want people to feed back to us regularly so that we can update it. So we'll actually be doing that. So again, that's hence the reason why we're doing what we're doing today. So that's going to be a big change for us. So there's 4 big loops that we're going through right now. And it's exciting times to see how the business is changing because of it. And also how people are adapting and enjoying the course. You know, we're getting feedback all the time. The people like the course, they like the content. Where they tell us, hey, there's content missing, we're out building the content. We're not waiting for, we're not waiting for anyone or to do it quarterly or to do it annually. We do it as soon as somebody says they want us to change the content. So, it's a movable beast that keeps moving.
That's brilliant. That's super exciting, and we're coming to the top of our time now. So for listeners out there, in terms of the discount that Jamie is offering, remember to use our code in the spotlight, and you can benefit from those discounts. Jamie, if our listeners want to contact you outside of this session, how can they reach you? What's the best way?
I would say, I mean, I would say I'm not going to give my mobile phone number on
No,
here.
of course not.
But you can get it on LinkedIn anyway. So, look, you can contact me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on email. My email's very simple. It's jamie@jamie-levy.com. I just use one very simple email so anyone can contact me anywhere. But you've got me on LinkedIn. You've got me on Facebook. You've got me on Instagram. You've got me on, I think I'm on TikTok as well. So you can contact me on any of those forms of messaging. I'm on Teams, I'm on WeChat, I'm on Telegram, I'm on all of those. So if you want to just contact me any which way, and I'm happy to answer questions or help anyone that I can help.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. Jamie, thank you so much for your time today. It's been brilliant catching up with you and reconnecting with you as well. This has been In the Spotlight with Jamie Levy from Global Procurement Training, and we look forward to seeing your courses progress and learning more in the future about how you're developing the business. Thanks, Jamie.
Lovely. Thanks, Maxine. Thanks, and everyone have a wonderful rest of the day. Enjoy the sunshine or no sunshine.
Thank you.